All right, so we got to see some CJ Stroud action. Yes, we got to see the number 2 overall draft pick play, and it wasn't a spectacular performance. He had 2 drives, ended up with a final box score of just 2 for 4 for 13 yards and an interception. Also got sacked on today. So not the best statistical day and not the best performance in the small sample size that we saw, but maybe not necessarily something I'm overly concerned about either. So let's just get into the film, the good and the bad of it. All right, let's start off with this play. The play you see on the screen, let's just start off with the interception, why don't we? They were nice enough to give us the all-22 footage of this play, so we'll start off there of the, the interception that happened on the first drive here for CJ Stroud. The way the play works, pretty simple play, actually. It's a zone coverage play, quarters coverage. You have a receiver that's going to get into a gap in coverage, kind of past the player covering the middle of the field, but underneath the safety and corner who are further deep. Okay, let's see what happens. Well, right when this play begins, Stroud takes the snap. He looks down the field, and okay, you can see why he wants to make this throw. You absolutely can see why he wants to make this throw, because his receiver who's about to cut, the corner who is looking like he's covering him isn't in great position, and typically it's the corner who you have to beat on this play. So I actually fully understand why Stroud made this decision. Obviously, you're going to get criticized when you throw a pick, but these are kind of the young player mistakes that you expect a young player to make. Because watch how it's the Jalen Mills, who was kind of lined up as a safety on the play, who's the one who's able to step in and get the interception. So, to me, that's kind of one of those situations where, it's one of those things where on paper that play should have worked. Usually on this play, as long as your receiver beats the corner, you make that throw. But in the NFL, guys are just so good, it's not always that simple. Sometimes you do have to look at this, multiple different players and more players than you have to look at the college level, which is why it's important for a player, who's a rookie to get preseason reps to sort of learn this stuff now, make these mistakes now so you don't make them once the season comes along. Also, this play, which was another learning experience, I would say, the reality is something you have to learn at the NFL level is how to minimize damage. In fact, that's kind of that's a big way that young quarterbacks can play themselves out of a starting job if they don't learn this stuff. That's probably the number one way, is when they maximize damage. And so this play, the way it's going to work for Stroud, the play begins and it's a bad situation. Guys aren't open down the field and you have pressure in your face if you're CJ Stroud. Okay, him not getting a touchdown on this play is expected. This is going to be a bad play. But what you have to learn how to do is to minimize damage. Instead, he runs backwards, tries to get out of this, but look, again, NFL defensive linemen are just great athletes, and you can't outrun them the way you could college defensive linemen, and so these are the things he has to learn. Again, this is why you play preseason. I'm not concerned about this stuff. This is kind of what I expected Stroud to have to learn. I expected him to make these mistakes, and he's making the mistakes, which is not the worst thing in the world. But I did think he showed some flashes of, good stuff in the pocket as well. Something like this, where it's going to be, the edge rusher is going to generate pressure here. And listen, Houston already maybe not the best offensive line, and you're missing you're not playing both of your tackles. So okay, I'm not surprised that there was pressure, but there was a lot of pressure. Watch how the pressure is going to come there, but Stroud is able to get around it. At this point, I really like what Stroud does. He does look downfield and see if something's open. There's nothing open, so it doesn't matter, but I just like that he showed that that's what he's going to do here. He's, being smart. Stroud does the right thing. He's going to scramble up and pick up a few yards and then make sure he gets out of bounds and protects himself. That is the correct play. So it was not like he was a disaster out there in the pocket. There were some mistakes, but there were some good plays as well. A play like this is another one where I kind of saw it and said, you know what, in a year or two, you're really going to get this down, but maybe not right now. I felt like the game moved a little bit fast for Stroud. I did. And this play is, to me, a great example. So it's 3rd down and 4. Stroud takes the snap. He's going to look down the field, and at this point, we are 3 1/3 seconds into the play. That's where we're currently at. This is a long time to be in the pocket at the NFL level. At college, just kind of what he had, but at the NFL level, usually you only get about 2.5 seconds, and I would say I would have liked Stroud to realize, what he's doing and make a decision a little quicker here. Because watch, when he scrambles up, he might have had an opportunity, but I don't know if, I think it was a little bit too late. And again, maybe not. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered. But there's a chance that he kind of, because he waited just that extra half second, he was not able to get the first down on that play. He got close to it. You could also critique the reaching the ball out thing at the end there. Again, minimize damage there is what you want to see from Stroud. So, again, he looked like a rookie. That's really the reality of the situation. So yeah, I mean, listen, you can look at the stat sheet and say, well, for one thing, you could look at the just 4 passes and say, oh, well, he barely, even played. He did have a few other plays that weren't passes, but were rushes or sacks. So it wasn't just the 4 plays, but it wasn't a ton of plays. It wasn't a ton of snaps. They handed the ball off a decent chunk as well. There were some things, there was one play where he just sort of threw this, it was kind of this lob to the halfback, and the halfback just dropped it. And then I was listening to the Patriots broadcast feed, and they were saying that he should be lucky. It was almost a pick six. It's like, okay, that's a bit harsh on the young kid, I think. I don't know if it was nearly a pick six quite yet. So I think this is one of those performances that, we have to remember it's the preseason. I feel like I mentioned this every video, but there is only so much you can take away from it. The way I always kind of viewed preseason football is it's an extension on what we have already seen and what we already know about with the player. So for Stroud, he's a player who we know a decent chunk about, and kind of the knock on him is that he's this incredible athlete. He kind of checks all the boxes, but he just hasn't put it all together yet, and he's going to be more of a project quarterback. I had Stroud as my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft, this past draft, but I also kind of said he's going to take some time, and I think Bryce Young I would definitely bet on Young to have a better, rookie year than Stroud, just due to the, I think that it's just going to take some time. I think he's not fully NFL ready. And I do think that, we see this all the time with guys coming out of Ohio State, that it does feel like the game moves a little fast. And that's kind of the main takeaway I had, was the game was moving fast for CJ Stroud. Now, will it go to Justin Fields' way, where it kind of slows down as you play more and more, which is what we've seen from Fields so far? I think Trevor Lawrence is probably a better example of that, where the game has massively slowed down for him as he's continued to play. Or will it go to Zach Wilson route, if it just never slows down and he never gets it together? It's impossible to say after one preseason, but maybe not a super optimistic first preseason performance, but I wouldn't get too discouraged by it either. We'll see what happens with a bigger sample size. That's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.